Teams and organizations are a staple of any proper superhero setting. The Justice League, the Avengers, Teen Titans, the Champions, and so on. Seeing our favorite heroes come together to save the day and go on wild global-scaled adventures together is a classic concept. When there's trouble, you know who to call. Earth's mightiest heroes know that you can't save the world alone. These iconic teams have earned the love and respect of millions for their bravery and competence in the face of unrelenting forces of evil. But when it comes to Invincible's premier superhero team, the Guardians of the Globe, fans have much less reverence for them.
You suck!
Every season, Earth's not-so-mightiest heroes seem to find a new way to embarrass themselves, to the point fans have written them off as jobbers and cannon fodder. Particularly when evil mustachioed Superman threats come a-knocking. What exactly are their problems that the original Guardians seem to have avoided until the Viltrumite meta put them in the ground? Hey team, Phantom Skull, the Super Security VTuber here, and today we're looking at the Guardians of the Globe and their very messy attempts at trying to protect the Earth, and why they just keep f***ing it up. So let's file some HR complaints and analyze one of the most relentlessly clowned on super teams in modern media. Yada yada, spoilers ahead, you know the drill. So who exactly are the Guardians of the Globe? They're a government-backed superhero team billed as the best of the best, who are the first line of defense against alien invasions and other planetary-ending threats. Bankrolled by the Global Defense Agency, this team led by the ageless defender of Earth, the Immortal, almost effortlessly protected the planet for years as a highly competent, well-oiled machine. That is until fellow hero and air quotes Omni-Man slaughters them all in an ambush in preparation for a Viltrumite takeover. Low on options and the many global-scaled baddies not missing a step in the Guardians' absence, GTA director CISO upgrades the up-and-coming teen team to begin rebuilding the Guardians 2.0, with Robot taking over leadership. After some tryouts for some promising new talents and adding on a retired Gen 1 Guardians member, on paper this new team had a lot of promise. But that promise ends up going up in flames very quickly. Robot's Guardians were a show from the start, and most of it is due to sour attitudes clashing left and right. Most of it can be laid at the feet of a pre-character development Rexplode's dumbass. Due to his philandering, Adam Eve, who was arguably the MVP of Teen Team and would have taken their team from C-list to A-list by herself, refused to be on the same team as him. Alongside that fumble, he continued to antagonize his other teammates like Monster Girl, Duplicate, and especially veteran Guardians member Black Samson. Samson already had a chip on his shoulder over being removed from Immortal's team due to losing his powers alongside their deaths. Now having to rebuild the esteemed Guardians with a bunch of rude, careless teenagers and 20-somethings who had no idea what they were doing left him even grumpier, with a lot of ire directed towards the exploding smartass. To add to their problems, Robot was just a terrible leader. Don't get me wrong, he was a smart guy and a shrewd tactician, but he was far too much of an analytical sociopath to deal with the interpersonal dramas that were holding the team down. Not counting his own interpersonal drama and fucked up choices that we'll get into in a bit. On paper, the team had a diverse set of skills and powers similar to the OG Guardians, if lacking in tanky muscle beyond Monster Girl. However, alongside the unfortunate fact Invincible's battles can come down to which walking tank can outlast the other before being turned into a bloody smear on the wall, the team lacked cohesion. It was a squad that was half cocky rookies from a team that brought a lot of baggage with them, and half complete strangers who had never been on a team before, and one grumpy old veteran nobody wanted to listen to. Samson was quick to chastise the team's complete disregard for minimizing civilian casualties before fighting the bad guys, something the OG Guardians excelled in. This lack of cohesion and situational awareness would come to bite them when they charge into crime boss Machine Head's tower to rescue a battered Invincible. In retrospect, fighting out this auto-tuned Kingpin somehow hired a space furry that can bully Viltrumites, and they ended the battle with half their team on death's door, but mostly still in one piece was a miracle. They still performed sloppily against the jobbers alongside the Murder Kitty. When things get real, the team does lock in and make quick work of the super goons, showing under the right circumstances, they can rally and work as a cohesive unit. Granted, they still only survived because Battle Beast got bored and dipped, but this was supposed to be a turning point for the team, if the half that got the Death Furry special survived anyway. But at the end of the day, their poor leadership, multiple inter-team conflicts, and just simply lacking the muscle and firepower needed for the threats they were facing, left this team struggling. They weren't some C-list local team like Fight Force. They were supposed to be Earth's #1 superhero team. Cecil's frustrations with them become very understandable. Dude has to deal with the planet's top hero slaughtered, figures out the most powerful hero on Earth did it, and an entire species of the same guy photocopied are coming to claim Earth, and his only viable defenses against it are said killer's emotionally troubled son and these fuck-ups. So when Season 2 rolls around, it's no surprise Director Dad here makes some shakeups, adding a pair of flying bricks in the form of Bulletproof and a newly revived Immortal to the team, and demoting Robot from team lead and giving it back to the ageless champion. And soon enough, they pick up the troublesome but uniquely powered alien hero Shapesmith. Now, again, on paper, this should have been a good turnaround for the team. Bulletproof is a solid tank and professional who doesn't bring any personal drama to the workplace. And Immortal was Earth's top hero and leader of the Triple S tier Guardians team. A man with thousands of years of battle strategy. Surely this would be their big comeback, right? Yeah, no. Remember all that unsorted interpersonal drama? Well, that was still going on, and it was now multiplied by 10 since their new leader was bringing in a mountain of untreated PTSD over his friends being slaughtered, and the same grumpy attitude towards his new team Samson had, but far worse. I think now is a good time to take a trip to the GTA's Human Resources conference room to go over the many internal problems plaguing this team from the top down.
You're all terrible at what you do here, and I feel like I should tell you, I'd fire all of you if I could.
Bob.
All right, hands in. Tina, don't put your hand in.
What?
So first off, we've got multi-incident medalist Rexplode, who only learns to chill after getting shot in the head. Monster Girl, a 20-something in the body of a preteen due to her cursed powers, who's apathetic to the fact that her powers are slowly de-aging her every time she uses them. Robot, who took over a co-worker's DNA without his consent to clone a new body for his 30-something mutant form, and specifically makes the clone the same physical age of Monster Girl due to having a crush on the 20-something child, which is all sorts of f***ed up. Shapesmith, an alien who left an Earth astronaut to die for a ride to Earth, whose actions accidentally caused a parasitic alien invasion to almost hit Earth at the worst moment, only for said alien parasite to make a comeback in Season 4 because of his actions. Then we have their new leader Immortal, who was a ticking time bomb of untreated trauma, who was absolutely not equipped to whip this team into fighting shape, and spent more time fighting with them than enemies. And that's not even getting into the 1,000-year-old dating a barely 20 co-worker, who herself was a bit of a wasp when it came to pot stirring. Then you had Shrinking Ray and Bulletproof, who honestly avoided all this nonsense and were just solid teammates who didn't bring their personal drama to work, so gold stars for both of them. I'm proud of you two. But you see the issues plaguing this team. It should be noted how nothing is ever done about them, with the exception of Rex, whose near-death experience sorted his own attitude adjustment. Every other issue on this team is left unresolved, or with Cecil barking at them to handle their own shit, before the next Viltrumite, Sequid, or Angstrom Levy level threat came a-knocking. Remember how Cecil said there would be consequences for Shapesmith's actions and, didn't do shit? I guess Mark is the only one worth bringing the hammer down on. A lot of the Guardians' experiences feel like a deconstruction of the soap opera aspect of superhero teams. The X-Men are a good example of a lot of the story balancing the drama of their interpersonal lives alongside saving the day. Every good superhero needs some spice to keep things lively. But with Invincible, The Guardians are more than a quirky superhero team. They're a government-funded strike force and the first line of defense against endless end-times level threats. Cecil points out the Guardians are intended to be equal parts an elite military unit mixed with superhero pageantry for the wider populace to look up to and feel secure and hopeful about, in spite of the constant nightmares that seem drawn to their planet. All that spice gets in the way of them being that elite fighting force they need to be to save the day. Season 3 is a good example of this after Cecil and Invincible's violent falling out, with half the team traumatized and suspicious of if Cecil would force such countermeasures on them without their consent, and the other half brushing off their concerns and coldly saying Invincible brought it on himself. The bubbling interpersonal conflicts they mostly stowed away during missions came exploding out as it leads to a schism of half the team quitting to back up Invincible, and the remaining half staying on the Guardians team with the reformed murderous anti-hero Darkwing 2 as their only consolation prize. The Guardians during this time became a joke who couldn't even handle frequent flyer troublemakers the Mauler twins and have to be saved by a literal child. And when the Invincible War breaks out, both sides of the Mark and Cecil conflict found themselves stretched thin and overwhelmed by the evil Invincibles sent after them. While both teams took out their dark marks, it came at the cost of Rexplode and Darkwing 2 sacrificing themselves to take them out. And both teams were brutalized to the point Immortal and Duplicate decided to just call it quits and retire. The departure might be seen as a net positive by most, but that's a severe lack of power and utility gone now. I feel like all of this could have been avoided if Cecil stopped trying to micromanage people and just left Donald to be his intermediary to sort out all of their drama. Everybody loves our boy Donald, after all. But beyond the soap operas and the lack of a functioning HR department, the Guardians' most frequent problem is leadership. Cecil is good at a lot of things as a spy master trying to save the planet from endless Thanos and Darkseid problems, but he is terrible at managing this superhero team. He treats them like soldiers while still letting them operate like a casual superhero security job. He needs an intermediary with more patience and preferably a background in therapy and team building experience to babysit these hot messes, while he applies his tried and true Hammer of Dawn approach to the problems he's more equipped for. Still then, the actual team continues to have a leadership problem in the field as well. Robot, as we've discussed, is too much of a sociopath to handle these personal issues between teammates, and not particularly as good at rallying the team compared to Samson, who shows far more leadership qualities that sadly never get explored. The Immortal's tenure is bizarre since he was the leader of the gold standard version of the Guardians. What exactly went wrong here? Well, besides the mentioned unresolved PTSD and his centuries of superhero work finally catching up with him mentally, he really was the worst type of leader for this version of the Guardians. We don't get to see them in action very much before their untimely demise, but the OG Guardians gave off the vibe of all being close friends and having far less personal baggage with them in the field. Pretty similar to the ones they're inspired by, the Justice League. It comes off less that Immortal was a brilliant, shrewd commander, and more of everyone on the team knew what their roles were and worked in tandem with each other. Red Rush and Green Ghost were the support heroes. War Woman, Immortal, and Samson were their frontline heavy combatants, and Aquarius, Darkwing, and Martian Man were all-rounder specialists who filled in between those duties. They were all veteran heroes and the gold standard of champions in Invincible's setting. Immortal didn't need to do much micromanaging as team leader since they all trusted each other to do their jobs. It's telling that episode 1 of the show sets the tone as the average DC Marvel superhero setting, and the entire vibe shifts to a darker and more gruesome one after their murders. Cecil had a bunch of kids and rookies who barely had much experience, thrust into dealing with massive threats beyond their weight categories. I feel like this is something Immortal picked up on, and why he was putting them through training from hell, to try and get them to his fallen comrades' level. But because of his own personal demons and stubborn nature, he doesn't see how he's putting a wedge in these already stressed out and traumatized newbies. In the end, the Immortal really was a relic of a superhero age that died with his friends, and couldn't adjust to help the ones that came after them. So maybe it was for the best he and Kate retired. much to the fandom's ire. The Guardians' current leader, Brit, is an odd one to discuss since he hasn't gotten much focus. We know he's an experienced hero who rallies the non-Guardian heroes against Angstrom's evil Invincible army in Season 3, and takes over as leader of the Guardians in Season 4, much to Robot's annoyance. Unlike Immortal, this geriatric champion can handle his shit, and while he can be rough around the edges, is pretty casual with trying to deal with conflicts within the team, only bringing the hammer down when someone really screws up or is being obstinate, such as when Robot disobeyed orders during the Sequid operation, and as is the prerequisite with Invincible characters, has the strength and durability to lead the team in combat and not end up a baloney mist cloud. In the two major Guardian deployments in Season 4 before the Grayson family space opera took over the plot, the team was at their strongest and most competent they had ever been. Ignoring they again needed to call on Invincible as their S-tier tag-along, but I digress. Though one might question how much of it was Brit's leadership, as both Crises, the Sequids and the Flaxons, were previous threats that a lot of their success was due to Robot and the GDA tech team having come up with countermeasures beforehand. But it cannot be underplayed how Brit's field commander experience had the Guardians operating not unlike the original squad. While there was some brief beef between him and Robot due to their clashing ideas of leadership and judgment calls, he shows himself able to stow it in the field and trust Robot's ideas when he thinks he's onto something, such as during the Flaxon invasion. After 4 seasons of non-stop f***ery, the Guardians of the Globe were finally living up to their name. Right before the Flaxon's portal closes, trapping Robot and Monster Girl on the other side to unknown fates. Just like that, the Guardians lost their main tech guy and strategist, and one of their most reliable heavy hitters, just in time for their aces in the hole Adam Eve and Invincible to be taken out of commission due to baby drama and a whole Viltrumite space opera. Yeah, if I were Cecil, I'd be cursing up a storm too. With Season 4 shifting to the Viltrumite War, I can confidently say the Guardians will be taking a sabbatical the rest of this season. While they're in a better spot, save for many of its core members out of commission, I do feel like a lot of their struggles could have been avoided with having someone like Brit front and center to rebuild the Guardians day one, along with a lot less scorched earth management from Cecil. Robot and the original teen team were not mentally equipped to take on the threats and problems the OG Guardians faced. And due to Cecil's poor management and not getting on top of the many fermenting interpersonal problems, this squad of upstarts were doomed from the start. The Guardians of the Globe continue to stumble in the massive shoes left behind by their Gen 1 counterparts, and unfortunately remain the laughingstock of superhero media. Whether they can turn things around and become a true contender as Earth's mightiest defenders remains to be seen. But in the end, like any real heroes, they'll still dust themselves off and wipe off their blood and get back into the fight. Just for the love of God, Cecil, get these masked head cases some therapists and an actual HR department. You've got the domain expansion of unlimited defense budget for a Frankenstein army and orbital cannons, but you can't hire some counselors? I suppose that's the good old American tradition. Thanks for watching. Hey, thanks for checking out my video. If you enjoyed it, I'd appreciate a like and a comment. What are your thoughts on the Guardians of the Globe? Is there any hope for these super bums? How would you fix their problems? Let me know down below. And be sure to subscribe for more super security fun and video essays. I stream Grand Theft Auto RP and other games here and on the Purple site weekly, so check those out too. Also, consider becoming a member to help support the channel. You get awesome custom stream emotes and other perks, and all proceeds help with allowing me to make more of these fun video essays. However, that's only if you can, and I'd greatly appreciate any likes, shares, and comments. All support helps the channel grow. Got a few more Invincible videos planned for April, along with some other topics, so keep an eye out for those. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time.